Hey guys, welcome back to another Alviso. Actually, this is Alviso from about a month ago, but it was the last time I was out there and brought two teammates with me, had a lot of fun, and we had a really exciting sprint. So I wanted to kind of quickly get through the middle of the race, the beginning and middle of the race, and spend as much time as possible at the end because I think there's some really good learnings in there. But real fast, there were three of us, like I said, and our plan was to just control the race, start to finish. So we wanted to get away in a breakaway, and if that didn't work, we were going to come together for the field sprint and see if we could organize something on the front, lead it out, and have a nice, fast, nice, safe field sprint. So let's dive right into it. Oh, right off the bat, real funny, Chris rolls up to me, and right here he's like, hey, box in Aiden. Aiden's a friend of Chris's. He's this U23 rider on a Volo professional team. He's really, really strong, and we were just toying with him a little bit because, you know, he's only done like 100 miles that day, and he needed a little bit more training, so we helped him out with that. All right, so forced Aiden to chase for a while Chris was off the front. I was sitting in the draft here, getting a pretty good draft, like maybe 10th or 12th wheel, and the little group that Chris was part of off the front is just about to get caught right here, and you can see as we enter this headwind section, it fans out as they're about to get caught, and this is just the perfect time to launch a counterattack. Give Chris a rest. He's been at the front. There he goes. And honestly, I don't think I needed to hit quadruple digits like I did. I probably could have gotten separation with a much smaller effort. The ideal attack uses the least amount of energy as possible to establish that separation, because what you want to do is devote all that energy to riding as close to threshold as possible and maintaining your gap, or even expanding your gap, which is exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm going to check the gap between my legs a couple of times like you saw, and then I'm going to make sure I have separation, and then I'm just going to settle into like a threshold effort and try to remain off the front. Meanwhile, you have Aiden back here doing some more work with Chris in his draft. So this is what you want to do, and you want to just chip away at your competition. Okay, I'm about to get caught here, and Chris doesn't miss a beat. He just immediately launches this counterattack. From about the same position, I launched a counterattack when he was caught. And this is what you want here. And you can see Chris actually has a much better attack. He only hit about 600 watts. Because again, you don't want to overdo it. You don't have to do a massive effort to get separation. It's more about getting the timing right and carrying all that momentum into the group, because the chasing group is going faster than the breakaway group. So you're carrying momentum. Just use all that momentum, get the separation. And now look, I get to sit up, enjoy this draft. And once I see Zach go right here, that's my ticket. I'm going to jump on his wheel because he wants to get across to my teammate. I don't want to get across to my teammate, but if I get a free ride across to my teammate, you bet I'm going to jump on that. So that's what I do here. Get a good draft. I'm getting low. So this chest cam is kind of weird. I don't know how I feel about it. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. I want to get a vote going because I want to find out where the best place to put the camera is if we ever get back to racing again. Helmet versus chest versus handlebar, my normal handlebar position. But anyway, that's what's going on right now. I'm on Zach's wheel, and the three of us actually end up working pretty well together for a while. It would have been interesting to see how Zach eventually played this 2-versus-1 situation if this breakaway went all the way to the finish, but it didn't, and we ended up getting caught. All right, so after a bit of a lull in the middle of the race, which is actually kind of typical for P12 races, you'll see there'll be a lot of attacking early on, a lot of attacking at the end of the race, but then in the middle, there's kind of a truce, kind of a point where everyone's just is resetting, reevaluating. That's when Chris decides, nope, no rest, and he just goes again right here. Decides he's going to attack, get some separation, and I see him go on the left, and I find myself accidentally behind Zach here. Actually, I'm just kidding. That wasn't by accident. I totally ended up behind Zach on purpose because I know that Zach likes the breakaway. I know that Zach is strong, and it's very unlikely he's just going to let this one go, and I want some more of that nice draft that he offered up. So I get behind him, and I make that happen. I get in his draft here, and I say that it's a free ride and it's easy, but like I'm still doing 400 or 500 watts during this bridge effort, which is a hard effort for me. But if I'm doing 400 to 500, that means he's doing like easily 600 to 700 because that's the benefit of the draft. So we end up in this group with separation from the field. It's got the right composition, strong riders, about 6 of us. everything should be working here, but the problem is Chris has just been sitting at the front and nobody's pulling through. Basically, this breakaway is doomed if nobody's willing to rotate through. So what I do is I want to keep that separation that we have from the chasing group behind. So I just go again, because what I'm trying to do here is force a selection from the selection. Otherwise, it was just kind of a wasted effort. Like, we all got off the front and then we all just get chased back, and that doesn't make any sense. So Zach gets in my draft to return the favor from earlier. A couple more riders bridge up, and honestly, I thought this was going to be the successful move of the day, but we just couldn't quite organize perfectly, and there were still a ton of really strong and really motivated chasers behind, and we too eventually end up getting caught.
Let's get ready for the counterattack if you have anything left, because it's coming. There it is, go, go, go!
Yeah, so that counterattack after a breakaway gets caught is very predictable. And it's nice to have teammates who are also aware of that and are also willing to join and or chase those counterattacks down, because at this point in the race, with under 6 kilometers to go, I've been so active, and I forced my competition, the other sprinters in the field, to be really active too. So I'm tired. Hopefully they're even more tired. But it's at this point in the race where I'm starting to think, like, I want to do as little work as possible, basically from here until about 250 meters to go. So that's my plan, and it was a success. I didn't really do much. If my heart rate was working on this particular day, you would see that I was nice and chill. Now that we're approaching 1 lap to go. This is like a little over a lap to go, but I'm on the front, don't really want to be on the front. And here comes Chris with another attack coming into 1 lap to go, which is great. It gives me a rest. I don't have to set tempo. Zach does jump across right there, so that's threat number 1. And then this next one goes, and I can't let a bunch of people ride up to Chris, because 1 or 2 riders is one thing, but I can't have several riders jump across to Chris, because then we're in a weird situation where, like, I trust Chris can win out of a small group. I'd like to stack it in our favor a little bit better, like 2 out of 4 is better than 1 out of 3, if you catch my drift. So we get about halfway there, maybe not even halfway there, and I just immediately shut it down, because I'm not going to tow the rest of the field across to that group. If I try to attack across, I'm just going to bring people with me. But now I need to make sure that I don't let too many people get across to that group that Chris is in. And sure enough, here goes Aiden. I suspected it was him, and I'm in between a rock and a hard place right here, because if I jumped across with Aiden, and say best case, say I make it across with Aiden, well, we could still get caught from behind, in which case I've kind of shot my wad for the sprint, and now there's a bunch of fresh people in the field I have to contend with. That's no good. So I decide right there that I'm not going to use my little bit of remaining energy to chase Aiden. I'm going to say, okay, if Aiden makes it, he's going to be tired. Chris can win out of that group. I need to save all of my bullets right now for the sprint finish. So I fall back into this group, and my teammate Sam takes over at the front to kind of set a false tempo. He's not really chasing right here. So we're just going to try to surf wheels. Yes, so Sam gives me that cool indication, like, hey, jump on. So this is a trusted wheel. It's a teammate number 1, but Sam's really strong. He's not going to lead me astray. He's going to keep me in good position right here, even though right now we're actually a little bit too close to the front. You can hear me communicating with Sam right there. But we are too close to the front, and that's kind of an issue right now, because we don't want to be stuck on the front with like a kilometer to go. That's way too long for just 2 people. But meanwhile, Chris is playing games with Aiden in their group. Aiden doesn't want to tow Chris, and Chris doesn't want to tow Aiden, and so that gets nullified, and they get caught just like that. But the problem remains. Sam and I on the front now, not even close to the front. Now we're on the front, and hey, remember, our plan, if a breakaway didn't work, was to lead it out for a sprint finish. So we need Chris up here with us, and that's exactly what Chris is doing. There I am looking back, making sure that Chris is moving up, because with a kilometer to go, like I said, it's just too much for 2 people. We need 1 more. Actually, from this distance, ideally we need 2 more, but there's only 3 of us in the race, so we're still going to organize it. As Chris passes me here, I tell him right to the front. He knows that. He knows the order. It goes Chris, then Sam, then me. And the speed Chris is going to set at the front right now isn't crazy blistering fast. He's not a full sprint. The ideal speed is one in which people aren't going to come over the top and attack you. So depending on the race course, how the race has gone, that could be 25 miles an hour, that could be 40 miles an hour. It really depends on how the rest of the race has gone. Because this was such a hard-fought race from start to finish, we can kind of get away with a 28 to 30 mile an hour lead out here. And this is when we start making mistakes. I'm going to pause it right here. I want to see if you guys can identify it. So there's two things going on, and I harp on this all the time on my channel. The first one is we have a right to left crosswind, and really we should stay on the sheltered side of the wind as long as possible, so we should be passing on the left. And the second reason we should be passing on the left is you can see the road kind of takes this lazy left-hander, so the shorter path is on the left, and Chris has left this little gap open for us, so we're kind of lucky in that there wasn't team organization behind, because if there was an organized lead-out train behind us, they would have smoked us. They just would have taken this inside line, thank you very much, and we would have been dusted. Like, I know it doesn't seem like much. It's hard to imagine that's the difference between winning and losing. But if there was organization behind, that's the difference between winning and losing, is us taking the longer, less sheltered line. But we got a little bit lucky. There wasn't too much organization behind, and I got lucky because Sam is incredibly strong and delivered me to inside of 200 meters to go to take the dub. Let me know where you like the camera position the best, the helmet, the chest, or the handlebars. And as always, catch you guys at the next one.